What if everything you've been told about self-improvement is actually making your life worse? We built an entire industry around the belief that we're fundamentally broken, ceaselessly tweaking ourselves like damaged machinery. But here's the radical truth. The fundamental assumption that you require repair is what's truly damaged. Envision a wave in the sea suddenly achieving consciousness and distressing because it's not firm like a boulder, because it endlessly modifies shape. The wave would attempt mending itself to achieve consistency. How absurd would that be? Yet this is exactly the way we humans function daily. The wave is already ideal, yet we persuaded ourselves that we're defective works needing perpetual reconstruction. We've been taught an upside-down story. You possess issues requiring resolution, parts demanding betterment. And if you strive adequately and locate the proper approach, you can ultimately correct yourself and transform into who you should be. This narrative is so embedded in our society that we seldom challenge it. We adopt our identity as continuous works being perfected. Yet, what if this assumption is entirely backwards? Here's something controversial. You are never imperfect, never unfinished, never an issue requiring resolution. The only element needing restoration is the belief that you require restoration. Think about nature. When you witness a tree, you don't rate its limbs as substandard. The tree is beautiful exactly as it is. It matures and answers to its habitat, but doesn't schedule assemblies about personal enhancement. We humans have evolved this capability to become our own evaluators and overseers. We look in the mirror and see a fixer-upper requiring work. Trees gain wisdom too. Identify which route to grow toward radiance, how to sink roots deeper. Yet trees don't punish themselves about deficient tallness. They answer naturally to what life provides. The divergence is trees rely on their nature, while we've been trained to suspect ours. We've been trained to think our instincts are questionable, our reactions probably inaccurate. So we develop an internal supervisor evaluating everything we do. Am I delivering enough results? Am I growing at the proper velocity? It's tiring, like possessing a nitpicking supervisor in your head, always finding you lacking. However, this overseer isn't who you are. It's adopted evaluations, acquired benchmarks from parents, instructors, and civilization. You've internalized a committee, making you feel perpetually inadequate. Yet who perceives this tribunal? Who witnesses these evaluations? Something within you observes this theater, without getting entangled. That aspect is who you genuinely are. You're not the notions regarding yourself. You are the awareness wherein all this emerges like weather patterns through sky. The sky is never wounded by weather patterns. Storms come and go, yet the sky remains infinite. In the same way, notions of inadequacy appear and vanish, but your true self remains unmarked. You can evolve and expand without the story that you're fundamentally broken. Observe toddlers learning to walk. They fall repeatedly. Do they develop tales about being flawed? Never. They rise and attempt again because walking appears enjoyable. Learning emerges naturally, spontaneously, without self-critique. There are two paths to change. One presumes you're damaged, like a technician repairing a defective motor. The other sees you're already intact, like a gardener relying on organic growth. The technician strives, while the gardener joins forces with nature. Most development approaches are mechanical. We manage ourselves like devices needing enhanced programming. But what if you're more like a garden containing natural intelligence? When you trust this intelligence, you stop fighting yourself. Instead of forcing yourself into molds, you permit your form to surface. When you end struggling against yourself, you free immense energy for being alive. Reflect on how much energy you use assessing yourself. Picture if that vitality were accessible for staying present. The person who recognizes they already hold direct vitality toward expression and exploration. Here's something remarkable. When you end trying to correct yourself, matters you assume needed correction often handle themselves. When you stop stirring up self-criticism, your lucidity stabilizes. Much of what we assume is wrong results from efforts to fix what was never broken. You might assume you have an anxiety disorder and employ techniques to solve it, yet this effort births more anxiety. What if being anxious at times is entirely acceptable? When you stop making anxiety a problem, it frequently vanishes organically. We've been programmed to believe we should experience particular feelings: happy, confident, peaceful. However, feelings are the weather systems of awareness, periodically stormy, periodically serene. This isn't a problem. This same concept applies to character features we see as defects. Maybe you're introspective in a culture praising outgoingness. Instead of fixing these aspects, understand them as your singular contribution. Oak trees don't try becoming pines. Rivers don't feel bad about not being mountains. When you embrace your nature totally, something magical happens. You see squandering vitality, pretending to be what you aren't. This doesn't suggest you never develop, but learning arises from wonder rather than lacking. You expand because growth is delightful. Children don't struggle with imagination. They just create naturally and easily. We acquire the habit of mistrusting organic intelligence. We've converted our inner world into a company with assessments. Yet your original self still endures, waiting for you to realize you were never incomplete to begin with. Here's a paradoxical truth. The more you work to develop yourself, the more you solidify needing betterment. Yet when you grasp you were never incomplete, development happens naturally, effortlessly. When you have faith in your being, growth happens like flowers blooming, splendidly in their own rhythm. This isn't indifference, but faith in the wisdom that powers your heartbeat. So here's an experiment. Engage in an experiment. For one day, discontinue attempting to mend yourself. Regard that day as a present of welcome. Meet emotions without changing them. Observe thoughts without evaluating. Regard yourself like a close companion, with warmth, forbearance, and humor. You might learn you're amazing exactly as you are. This is a revelation. You were never flawed. You're already full, already perfect, already sufficient. You're not detached from existence. You are life showing itself as human, and life is a dance of joy. We're all ripples on the same ocean, each special, each whole, each ephemeral. When you recognize this as embodied experience, you can at last relax into your true self. Who you genuinely are is more stunning than who you think you should be. You don't need to evolve into more like life, because you are life experiencing itself as you. The wave is the sea playing the game of being a wave. If this message touched something within you, I warmly encourage you to subscribe to the channel. Follow for more content that challenges traditional beliefs about self-development and personal improvement, and write a comment below with the word whole to indicate you're prepared to embrace your entire, unbroken being precisely as you exist right now.